Okay, so we're gonna go through a BGG platinum game that I thought was really interesting against Karmakanik. I I play BGG with no preference. It's just kind of my jam. Karmakanik's format is R 1BF to KALPD. It's frontiers. So before you go in, um, there's a couple of commanders that Frontiers is a bit more friendly to. McCready is the default for BGG, I think, with Frontiers because you're looking to eke out any advantage you can, and McCready is probably the premier ambush commander. He's probably the commander that you can tailor a format to most easily to be friendly to him. And then, on the other hand, Jochum, who I chose, is kind of we all know about Jochum. Jochum is good at everything pretty much. So if you're going in blind, you could choose Newberg as a counterfoil here, feeling reasonably confident that Newberg's going to be decent against Lee as well if Lee's picked, or if it's a mirror. But we went with Jochum. I quite like Jochum in the blind, and it's a good matchup against McCready. So here we're a bit sad. We're going first. It's not uncommon for Jochum to have a 4 trade start. That would have been fantastic because we could have picked up Coalition Freighter. And then, or we could have got really greedy and picked up the Custom Frigate and popped Coalition Freighter on top, thus guaranteeing ourselves 9 the following turn. That's not our reality. What we're looking at here is a 1 trade start. Kind of unfortunate we can't even put anything in the can to boost our trade next turn with the Gambit use. But there are a lot of cards on the row that we really want. Like, we're interested in all 3 of those bombs. So unfortunately, all we can do on our first turn is just hit the damage, deal the damage to McCready and pass turn. So Karmakanik here is going to play out his hand. He's got 4 trade. He's going to pick up the Coalition Freighter because he doesn't want us having it, and obviously he doesn't have one of those magical. Sometimes with McCready you get one of those magical kind of 7-8 trade hand starts, and it's just glorious. If he does that here, then I just straight up lose, because if he picks up Lost Dreadnought here, or a first turn Fred, then it's probably curtains. So he plays out, gets some damage, hits us for 11. Now here you've got several choices. Take a moment, think about what you're going for. You've got the Nexus base that scraps, always good. You've got Freddy on the left hand side, which is obviously going to be good against Karmakanik. Now we know he doesn't have the sort of hand that can get a bomb next turn unless he gambits and gets really lucky with his trade. And if he does, if he picks up a Coalition Freighter out of the discard into his hand from the draw, then all bets are off. He can pick up anything. My preferred style of Jochum play is to aggressively scrap. That takes the most out of his 7-card hand, I feel. It's sometimes challenging to do that, but it's very possible here that we're going to be picking up 2 of these 3 bombs on the row. We're going to get one now, and we're gonna probably get one if we get lucky in the next turn with our draws. So now that you've thought about what you're picking up first, here's what I did. We cycled just to try and get something interesting out of the rest of our deck. We're going to discard the life gain shard. We're going to then play out those, and we're going to scrap. We're going to get rid of one of our assault shards. We don't want those in the deck. I know it's a race to the bottom, but anything that gets in the way of us scrapping is not good. And we do want to keep the authority gain shards because it might become relevant. Now here, we are actually going to pop our Gambit because we are very interested in Lost Dreadnought. And the reason we're very interested in Lost Dreadnought is if we are aggressively scrapping, in Frontiers and the cards that are present in this format, there's a lot of allied scrap that can be had. And Lost Dreadnought represents, allies for everything, and it's another 2 cards when you draw it. Yes, the authority gain from Fred is really tempting and really nice, but to my mind, I think Lost Dreadnought is the pick here. And even though we sacrifice our Gambit to pick it up, I strongly believe that those 2 cards are really going to help us. So we're on the road, we've scrapped, we've got a Lost Dreadnought, and we're pulling into our next hand, but we don't see him, which is a shame because that would have guaranteed a 7-drop. And if we get Lost Dreadnought and Fred, then we're doing really well. So here, Karmakanik is going to get his 4 trade and is going to pick up the base. That's going to give him an extra shot at being able to have 3 trade in his next hand to pick up one of these guys. And he's banking obviously on us not drawing anything. He deals his damage. We're down to 55. It's 53. It's fairly even. So we're gonna go picking up a base that scraps. Important to soak up damage. We're gonna gain our authority from our shards, and then we're gonna take the row scrapper. We would like very much to not give that to Karmakanik. It represents a 6 damage blow. And also allows him row control, and we don't want to do that. We can get rid of it when we don't need it, and it gets rid of things that we don't want him to have. And then we're just going to pass our turn. So we see Lost Dreadnought here. We've got the ability to scrap. We're going to look at that, see what comes. Now, Karmakanik here is absolutely going to pick up Bounty Hunter. It's a great card for him. It's 7 damage, which is a really strong card, and he doesn't want us having that life gain. Clearly not having a 7 trade hand and not wanting to sacrifice his Gambit on the odds that he pulls into it, because next turn he's definitely got that. So here on our turn we have a choice. We could scrap from our discard, putting 3 extra shards into our deck, which means that when we pull into our next deck, we're going to see a full hand of shards instead of recycling. Or we can play our Lost Dreadnought to cycle into our next deck now. That would leave us, I think, 6 cards in our hand, which then cycles whatever we buy this turn and Lost Dreadnought back in quickly on the short stack. So that's in fact what we're going to do. We're going to pull in that. We're then going to bring in our recon shards. We're going to recon. We're actually going to draw our base, which scraps. Perfect. Get rid of our assault shard because it's garbaggio. And in this particular scenario it is anyway. And so I don't know whether Lost Dreadnought keeps flipping. But we're then going to scrap out with our base, and we're also going to scrap out with our shards. We're going to buy the Nexus, which now gives us a really good soak. And we're going to be drawing with that as well. And again, getting rid of shards that we don't want to see. So there we go. It's 52-45. It's still really close. We've cycled, luckily, into Lost Dreadnought. That's a bit of luck there. But we know that Karmakanik is going to either pick up Fred or Transit Nexus here. So off he goes shopping, and he picks up Fred, which is wonderful for him, and he flips a repair mech, which is really good for us. We really want to see that, because that's going to be beautiful with our Nexus. So hits us down to 48. We are drawing. We don't have enough for Transit Nexus, so what we're actually going to do here is we're going to play out our trade. We're going to get Repair Mech because we just really want to see that card, and we're going to scrap Transit Nexus and the frigate. We don't want Karmakanik short stacking avoiding the shuffle and short stacking cards with the frigate. He could also pair it with the Fred for his base destruction. He's already got a Bounty Hunter in his deck, and we are interested in in making sure that we've got the cards that we want, which is at the moment scrapping and bases, and anything that helps him destroy that is no bueno. However, we don't want to keep the spike around. We get rid of it. We're focusing on absolutely scrapping and drawing. So we've got the Nexus, we've got the ability to trigger it. We're going to see what he does. Gets Fred, plays out a base, and lo and behold, nice big base for him. Lots of potential damage. Although it does, one thing picking blue up with McCready does do is, I mean, it does dilute the ability to ally. It's still, I mean, it's still really good. You're never going to turn down Fred. You're never going to turn down Bounty Hunter because they're very aggressive cards, or cards that you don't want your opponent to have. But it's he's not maybe going to get as much out of that base as if he didn't have blue in. But we're going to get some authority here, much needed. Gain some 5. We're going to scrap out with Nexus. We're going to take the blob, the mech blob, and we're going to take the Alliance transport, which is going to be really important because with this Lost Dreadnought, we're going to start to be able to draw cards and gain authority through there. Our next hand is pretty good, although at the moment, if we play Lost Dreadnought, we cycle, which we don't want to do. We're going to avoid that, and we'll show you how, because McCready is going to come in super aggro, going to pick up another green base, really cranking that damage. The good news for us is they're not outposts. He's going to hit us down to 33. Now, this is where Repair Mech really shines. We're going to slap that Nexus back on top. We are going to draw it again, and we're now going to try and scrap as much out as we can. We're going to get rid of that with the Repair Mech. We're then going to scrap out of our hand and out of our discard with the probe. Then we're going to play some more shards to scrap out more there, and the base, which scraps. We're going to buy Battle Screecher. It's got some trade, and it also helps us control the row, which is wonderful. We're going to get rid of all those cards that are going to allow Karmakanik to have top deck shenanigans, and we are going to scrap out a bit more. We're going to hit him for 12, which goes through his base and gets it to 30. And we've just scrapped a whole bunch of cards, and our deck now is looking really slim. And all we really have to do is survive another turn, and it's looking pretty good for us. So Karmakanik now blows his gambit. He really wants to punch as hard as possible. He's popping assault probe to the top, and assault pod, sorry. And he's just trying to get as much as he possibly can through, because he knows very well that this is his last chance. It's not enough, and whilst 35 to 17 looks pretty good, it's pretty much all but over, because we're going to draw all the things. We're going to put our Nexus on top again. We're going to then draw it, cycle into it, get rid of a shard. We're going to scrap out with our blob. We're going to pop the row with all the bad bases that we don't want him to have that have got damage. We're going to take Star Market, and then we're going to get a cheeky Frontier Runner, Blockade Runner, sorry, on the fly. And as we play Nexus, we're then going to actually be fortunate enough to draw it, which allows us to cycle into the rest of our cards here. We can play Star Market for the authority. We can play the base to scrap. Then we can, I think we pop our Blockade Runner, do we? Oh, that's right. We buy Crusher, scrap again, and then we pop the Blockade Runner to draw Crusher, have some more damage, buy a little bit more authority, and so that we've got a 7-card hand, so we can do something next turn and hit Karmakanik down to 9. And unless he gets very lucky, he's not killing us here. He does get Fred, he does get a bunch of damage, but it's nowhere near enough, and this is the turn that we do all of the killing. Blow the row, we buy a couple of things, and then we top a couple of pops, like get the Nexus on top, which also allows us to scrap out the Mercenary Outpost and get lethal. It was a really tight game. I really enjoyed that. There was a lot of thinking involved from my side, and Karmakanik, he got close. He got some really nice cards, but we managed to aggressively scrap down to the point where our deck had enough soak to win that one. And I know McCready and Jochum are kind of the big boys to an extent, and Jochum is a bit of a jerk sometimes, but I just thought that was a really interesting beginning to the game, and how the purchases went. I thought it was worth commenting on. So good game, Karmakanik. Hopefully that's a win, one of the wins that gives me enough juice to survive in Platinum for another season. It's been fun so far, and thanks for watching.